Hey, happy Monday. I am so excited to be here with you again. I have a great episode for you, and I have a favor to ask. If you have not taken time on Spotify or on the Apple iPods to leave me a rate and review, I would really appreciate it if you did. So, this is the way that all the things behind the scenes know to recommend this podcast to others. So if you wouldn't mind, if you're enjoying it, if you're not, just stop listening. Just be cool, okay? I joke, but it would really mean a lot if you just take a couple of minutes on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you can leave a message, or not a message, a review. Please do so and share this episode with someone who you believe would benefit from it. I absolutely love creating this for you and sharing this, and hopefully this will help release some of those chains and you can see how you can grow. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to Her Restored Spirit podcast. My name is Tammy and I'm your host, and I have something that I really want to share today. So many times we believe that failure and success are opposites. We're all or nothing. We either win or we lose. And though I'm not buying into this whole everyone gets a participation trophy mentality, I also don't believe it's all or nothing. I don't believe that we can either achieve our goal or we don't achieve our goal. Because how many times have you been racing to your goal and found something better? Found something different, or you realize you shifted your path, so things changed, right? How many times do we allow ourselves that fear of failure stop us from getting any kind of success? And so I want to introduce a thought. I want to talk to you about what really is the opposite of success. And I say it's familiarity, being familiar. Being safe, being right where you are is actually the opposite of success. Staying put, being stuck, being comfortable in the uncomfortable is actually part of success. The uncomfortable fear and staying where you are in the familiar, even though you are miserable here, that is the opposite of success. And so why do we have this all or nothing thought? Why are we limiting ourselves to thinking that if we fail, we're wrong? So ninth grade science, and even my daughters, we've been researching, the scientific method and researching science and projects and these experiments they're doing. And talking about like Edison made like 2,000 tries before he got the light bulb to work, right? So whereas each of those a failure, like what do you describe as failing? There's failing is falling and not getting back up, is the first attempt at learning. It's there's so many things we throw around. But I encourage you to really ask yourself, where in life have you really failed? If you have learned something from what you did. I had a podcast a while ago about how I don't really have regrets. I don't really see the purpose in them. Have I done things that I think are stupid? Sure. But I don't regret them. Even the big ones, even the big mistakes that kind of changed the course of my life. And I say that with confidence because I know that I would not be where I was, where I am today without those mistakes, without those failures, without those decisions. If I would have stayed in that state, if I would have stayed familiar and not get out of my comfort zone and not realize that, okay, I want something more than this. I want something more. Like I love being a mom, but I have this ambition as well that what am I going to do with it? And then I tried different things. I mean, I tried being one of those like a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so crafting and trying to do that, and it didn't work. Was that a failure? No, I learned that I actually love teaching. I actually love helping. I love the creativity. Okay, so it was not a failure. Did I lose money? Sure. I mean, I made just enough to take care of my own habit, right? But when we start asking ourselves questions, then all of a sudden that quote unquote failure is actually a lesson. And we start asking ourselves, what did we learn? What did we discover about ourselves? What were our opportunities to grow? What went well? Because a lot of times some things do go well, even in the midst of a mistake. Even if it is, you just have a better understanding of you. That is something that is a gold nugget that really you need to hold on to. But let me tell you the other side of it, because we talk about success and that's what we want. And sometimes people have the fear of success, which is also holding them back. That talk is a whole nother one for another time, because believe me, that is some serious stuff. That is something that I have been working through, and because learning what success is to me and what's holding me back, what thoughts. But I want to dive into being familiar. We all like to be comfortable. I realized, so I have a whole new respect for Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and him coming to his house and switching from that like stuffy jacket to putting on his cardigan and getting comfortable and just being him. I have my own version of this, whereas I walk into the house and I put on sweatpants. I take off my jeans. Thank you, COVID. It's one thing that I realized I don't actually like wearing jeans. I want to be comfortable. And so I have my own little comfort there where I've embraced that, where I get home and I put on jeans. Or no, I put on leggings. Like I get comfortable, right? We all look for comfort. Truthfully, scientists have discovered that people in general, we spend our whole lives running away from pain or running to pleasure. And we will do more to run away from the pain than actually to pleasure. We know our success, there's pleasure there, there's good things, but our brains have this negativity bias that stop us from pursuing that. We are more worried about getting out of pain, which is crazy because some of the things we do actually keep us right where we are, or keep us more in this uncomfortable pain, this comfortable fear that stops us from acting, from taking steps forward to stepping into our identity. And it's like, okay, what do we do then? How do we how do we avoid pain? If that's how do we get comfortable? We can't have success and be comfortable. Now there is levels of comfort that come, but you have to get out of your comfort zone to get that. That means you have to do something outside of yourself, outside of what you normally would do. Because if you didn't have to do that, you'd already have it. You'd already be where you want to be. But instead, we stay in the familiar. We understand um, like our weight loss. We understand how it is to live with 10 pounds extra on our bodies. We don't like it. We talk about how we want it off. We complain about it. And yet it's easier to eat the cake than it is to run the 4 miles. It's easier to just say, we'll deal with that tomorrow and not worry about it today, because it's the familiar. I understand what this fear is, what this discomfort, what this feeling is. And our brains don't understand what it is when we have the success. And that's why, because we haven't been there yet. It's a brand new situation. Even if we've had a taste of the success, you are not the same person you were then. You're new. God's created us new. And we have more information, we have new experiences, we have more, like we're in a different spot. And we still don't know what it feels like to have everything we want. So we stay familiar because we understand this. I hope this is resonating with you and help like what are you comfortable with being uncomfortable with? What has been on your heart? What are some of the shoulds that you have that you realize that when push comes to shove, you're not actually going to do anything about it? When I asked myself that, I had to get really I had to really get honest with myself. What is it worth to me to have what I want? Is it worth being uncomfortable? Is it worth putting myself out there? Is it worth trying something new and failing to see what it was like to soar, to see what it's like to offer help to other people? What is it like? And what am I willing to give up? Am I willing to give up comfort, a momentary comfort, to be able to go towards what I really want? And that means getting honest about what you really, really want. And what are you willing to put down? Are you willing to give up? Are you willing to stand up and say, no more familiarity? I'm going to intentionally put myself into positions that I can grow. Intentionally ask myself these questions, because how many times is it really just getting honest with ourselves that we're not willing to do? That we're not willing to do. Getting honest with yourself is it's very vulnerable, which is so weird because you're like, I am me. I'm in my head all the time. But there's so many things that we're not willing to admit to ourselves. And that's familiar. Oh, so many times I get emails, I get messages, I get people saying, Tammy, I know what to do. I've read all the books. I have, I've listened to the podcasts. I've listened to your podcast. I have, I've done the Bible studies. I have taken the courses. I have asked for advice. I have talked to my mom. I've talked to my girlfriends, talked to my sister, I talked to someone who's done it before. I know what to do, and I still can't do it. And that's when I have to ask them, what are you willing to give up to get out of the familiar? To get the success, are you willing to set down the familiar? Because failure is not a sign of weakness. It's the sign that you took action. It is the sign that you are moving. It's the sign that you are not willing to stay in that stuck state, in the overwhelm, in the anxiety, in the depression, in the numbness of life. So many women come to me and say, I'm just numb. I want to get back to me. Familiarity is in the numbness. Getting to know who you are, that's success. Are you willing to get uncomfortable a little bit, to do some things that you're not familiar with? I'm not talking about illegal things here. I'm talking about putting yourself out there. I'm talking about taking a step and admitting that you really want something. That admitting that as much as you love being a mom, you have an ambition inside of you to write a book, to start a ministry, to start a walking group, to have friends, have girlfriends who you can go to coffee with and leave the kids behind. Have something that's yours. Something that's yours. Do you have a goal or a dream that God's placed on your heart and you want to pursue? Being familiar, being in the familiar will not get you any of that. The good thing, the really exciting thing is that it's like a muscle. If you do one thing and you see, like, then you can do another thing and another thing, and you can actually do the reps and you can start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, with putting yourself out there and reminding yourself, okay, is it a physical threat or an emotional threat? Will I die if I do this? Now, let's face it, if your goal is to jump out of an airplane, like there's a little bit of threat in there, but it's minuscule. Seriously. I've done it. It terrified me. Would I do it again? I actually am getting closer and closer to saying yes, I would do it again because it was a lot of fun. I did my checks. I made sure I went with a reputable company. Like I did the safety things. I was willing to step off of that airplane to feel that, to try it, to do it, to experience it. What are you willing to step off the airplane to do? To things that I had never experienced a feeling like that before. And I would never have been able to if I didn't step off the airplane, if I didn't step into the unfamiliar, if I didn't step into the air. I wasn't willing to get off the step, start and just float and just fly. We think that we're walking by faith when we're waiting. We say we're walking that, we're walking in faith. But if you're not actually walking, it's just there's no faith needed to stay exactly where you are. I don't believe that God wants us to stay exactly where we are, which is why he put eternity in our heart. He put passions, he put goals and vision and dreams in our heart because he doesn't, you're not walking by faith if you're standing still. You're standing in faith, okay? But if you're not actually testing it, do you even need that faith? Friend, I'm so, how do I say this? Like it breaks my heart to see so many women who are not willing to step out of the familiar and realize that it is not that hard. It can be easy. It's not, and I know this, I use this a lot, it's not selfish. As moms, we dedicate our lives, excuse me, to our kids and to our families. That doesn't mean we need to set down our identity. That doesn't mean we need to set down our dreams and our goals and our ambitions. And if you look at Proverbs 31 woman, who I know that that's not describing one woman, that was a letter, a song of praise that Jewish men would sing over their wives. But we look and we use that, and you know what? Not one time does she say that she walks in faith by staying still. She works and she exudes this confidence that we all desire. How does she get it? By putting in the reps, by taking one step and putting one foot in front of the other, those tiny baby steps to prove to yourself that you are comfortable with getting uncomfortable. So that's what I have for you today. That's what I would love for you to sit down and get honest with yourself and say, okay, how am I staying in the familiar? What am I willing to give up to get success? What does success mean to you? What does success mean to you? Define it. Who are you and what does your heart want? Even if it is a stronger relationship with your children, you can't get it by doing the same thing you've been doing. You cannot do the same thing that you did when they were toddlers and when they were in, school age with our teenagers and expect the same results. We have to get uncomfortable a little bit, and we have to get on their level, and we have to relate to them. So even getting the relationship we want is going to be uncomfortable because we have to do things that we've never done. We have to do things and we have to be open to some ideas. We need to use words like bro. We need to relate to them. We need to get excited about what they're excited about. It gets a little uncomfortable. Now, we have boundaries. Okay? I'm going to tell you that. The other thing too is, again, and I want you to hear this. It is to the benefit of your entire family for you to have an identity. For them to see that you have desires, that you have motivations, that you have failures, that you're willing to set down familiar in order to go for something, to try something new. Because if your kids don't see you doing it, if they don't see you struggle, if they don't see you trying, where are they going to get that? Where are they going to build that muscle? Where are they going to see that it's worth it? Where are they going to see that, okay, I'm not going to die if I try this thing? They're watching. They're watching and we're modeling for them. And if we sit and we go numb to who we are and to what our strengths are, and we just become this being that exists or manages life without actually experiencing it, what are we showing them? So get comfortable with the uncomfortable. What is your familiar and what do you want to do to get out of it? And I encourage you, if you have this feeling, there's something you're like, yes, this, I need to get uncomfortable with I need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. There we go. I knew I'd say it. I need to get out of the familiar and try something new, whether it's a new hobby, a new, like whatever it is. Message me. Let's talk. Let's get this. Let me help like motivate you and show you what your next step is. I have a resource for you, the 5 secrets to discovering you. 5 things, 5 questions, 5 things you can ask yourself that will help you discover your next move, not 10 moves down the way. Like sometimes we get so overwhelmed by our end that we forget that first step is the first step. That's all we really need to do is one step. And then after that, we can do one more step. So go onto my website, click it. It's also in the show notes. You can download it and start discovering why it's important to know who you are and what does familiarity look like to you and what is success and how do those play a part in your life and how can you get rid of the familiar and start stepping into a life that's beautiful, a life that's fun and full of energy and joy and excitement and peace and calm. It doesn't have to be all high energy, high excitement. You don't have to jump out of an airplane. But what if yours is making a friend? Stop feeling so alone. What if that is what you want a relationship, and yet you are not willing to go into that group, that mom's group, and say hi yet. And recognizing that the familiar you're in right now is the loneliness. And you can just walk in and smile at someone. What if someone does that? And what if your thing is just saying hi to somebody who you've never said hi to? What if that's your familiar, is getting out of the familiar, is just saying hi to a stranger. Then all of a sudden, both of you are now out of the familiar and moving forward. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't, but it's something we need to do. It's something we've got to do if we're going to live a life of joy. We need to be intentional. We need to be loving. We need to be compassionate to others, but also to ourselves. And we need to get uncomfortable. It's not all about comfort. It's not. Life is not about comfort. So reach out to me, get that resource, because it's just a small way to start and just to see what's possible. And I cannot wait to talk to you next week. With that, choose joy, friend, until joy chooses you. Bye for now.